I'm thrilled to be joined by Vivian Cox Fraser, the president of the Urban League of Essex County. Vivian, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for being here, Brian.
Jersey Can has come out with this one-of-a-kind study looking at COVID slide or learning loss here in the state of New Jersey. First off, what does it show us about learning loss here in the state of New Jersey and the challenges that we face?
Yeah, so it's really a very unique study, one statewide study done on the impact of COVID on children's learning loss for elementary school age children. And it's really important. We know anecdotally that children aren't advancing and that virtual learning isn't the same as in-class learning. And the study really puts the data behind that. So the study is very important for at least getting a baseline information of the impact of COVID on children and learning loss.
Tell me what the data shows about the achievement gap in households of low-income Black and Latinx families where the achievement gap already existed, and now we have learning loss and COVID slide. What spotlight should we shine on that?
We really should shine a spotlight on the 50% loss that Black children are experiencing, right? And Latinx children are experiencing in learning loss from COVID, right? So what we want to look at more deeply is, one, to measure what the loss is, and then have intervention specifically for those children that have experienced the greatest loss, right? So we really want to shine a light on the fact that COVID has not impacted all communities equally, and it has not impacted all children equally. And we really have to look at some of the other social determinants that are going on within these communities that are also affecting, learning loss. So many of these families don't have broadband access. They may have internet access, but it may not be reliable internet access. So if you have multiple children on devices in a household, you're not getting reliable access, right? And we also see that on the previous study that was done, they showed that Black and Latinx children were more likely to be in completely remote learning environments. And what we know is that children may be logged on, but they're not tuned in, right? So they're not really engaged with the remote learning. And I can't even imagine, if you think about it, Brian, can you imagine learning algebra remotely? I really can't. And so children are struggling. And what we see in low-income communities, maybe you don't have reliable childcare. So, and parents are in the essential workforce. They have to go to work. They didn't have the choice to stay home. And so sometimes you see the older sibling on Zoom helping the younger sibling in class. But what does that mean for the older sibling? The older child is not learning, right? So it has multiple impacts in families that have multiple children.
In the study, what recommendations are there for communities and parents to help mitigate learning loss?
Well, the study really highlights the need for more intensive summer intervention for kids. So generally speaking, summer school is just for children that maybe are going to be retained and to help them advance to the next year. But really, what it shows is that all children probably benefit from summer learning. And we know that for the Black and Latinx children, that need is greater. So really having targeted interventions directly related to individual children's gaps are important, right? So it also increases the urgency to get kids back in classroom for in-person learning. So it's really compiling the social impacts as well as the economic impacts on already fragile families.
Lastly, what advice would you have for parents and caregivers to start addressing learning loss and find out more information? What advice would you have?
So I definitely would say, one, everyone should get vaccinated. I just want to say that getting vaccinated is important for our communities so that we get to herd immunity, which means that we have some level of normalcy. Children can go back to school, families can go back to work. We can get to, regaining a sense of, stability in our communities. And then secondly, I would say the summer is an ideal time to enroll your children into summer camps and summer, not just enrichment programs, but programs that really have structured academic support, and also advocate in your districts to make sure that your child is getting those additional resources in the summer that they need. So I would say as parents, the work hasn't ended.
It's such an important issue and, really great advice. Vivian Cox Fraser, the president of the Urban League of Essex County, thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thanks so much, Brian.